As we start the show and the instrumental is playing, let's just throw a little PSA warning. Hi, hello, Adrian Hernandez here, the host of the Sporting Tribune Today. Today's episode is going to be a little different, going to be a lot shorter than usual. I apologize. Me and my family dealing with the flu. Be safe out there. I guess the flu's going around. We had to go 30 minutes away to get some medicine from a Walgreens because CVS's and Walgreens are all sold out of medicine. Kiddos is getting sick left and right, so be safe with you and yours. Stay hydrated, nutrition, vitamins, all that stuff. But with that being said, welcome inside. We're pushing through. Consider this my flu game, episode 3. Joining us here in a matter of moments, because baseball players is getting paid all over the place, is our Dodgers reporter, our Dodgers insider, covers the team phenomenally when it comes to the LA Dodgers. I'm talking about Blake Harris. He'll be joining us here in a few moments as I come to you from Las Vegas, Nevada. This, of course, drops Friday morning brunch hours, in between these World Cup quarterfinal games here on this Friday. But I am recording this at 8:40 p.m. on a Thursday night, which is about 10 minutes since Thursday Night Football went final at SoFi Field. Rams fighting for their playoff lives at 3-9, and they beat the Las Vegas Raiders, who came into this game 5-7 in the regular season on a 3-game win streak with a slight possibility for the playoffs. They had to play the Chiefs at home in a couple weeks, but other than that, all of the games on the schedule seemed like winnable games. And then tonight happens, and you're reminded that there was never really a shot. And I just want to spend a couple moments on this game. Like I said, the game just finished about 10-15 minutes ago. I'm kind of baffled because, truthfully, when I went down to Henderson in training camp, with all these expectations, even at 2-6, I didn't think that this team would lose like this on this stage with these expectations and things to play for. But then again, this is the same team that lost to an ESPN analyst who had just gotten hired the week before in Jeff Saturday and the Colts. So for those keeping track at home, the Raiders in one season with Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler as a new regime have lost to an ESPN analyst and now an insurance salesman for Progressive and Baker Mayfield in the same damn season. Tonight, no Aaron Donald, no Cooper Kupp, no Matthew Stafford. Those are the 3 big key injuries for the Rams that didn't play, and it didn't freaking matter because Baker Mayfield, a dude who was cut Monday afternoon from the Carolina Panthers, was picked up on waivers, not by the 49ers like a lot of people thought after Jimmy G's broken foot. No, he was picked up by the Rams. The Rams had to send the playbook to Baker Mayfield on the flight from Carolina to LA so that he could get accustomed to the playbook because he didn't start the game. Walford, or whatever his name is, he started first drive, 3 straight runs. That was it. Second drive on, Baker Mayfield played the rest of the game, and he outplayed Derek Carr with Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs on the field. Baker Mayfield came into this game after doing nothing in Carolina, after doing nothing in Cleveland, and how long, and outplayed Derek Carr? Let's go to the stats. Baker Mayfield, 22 of 35. 230 yards, game-winning touchdown, no interceptions, touchdown through to Vance Jefferson at 9 seconds left in the game. Was sacked 4 times too. Max Crosby was doing work, credit to him. Derek Carr, though, on the flip side, 11 for 20, 137 yards, 2 interceptions, didn't get sacked once, had a clean pocket for most of the game. 11 for 20, 137 yards, 2 interceptions, no touchdowns. And then another thing, Josh Jacobs ran it again for 27 carries, 99 yards, had another touchdown. Dude's been having a hell of a season. He's been dealing with a hamstring injury for the past month. Every game he's been questionable leading up to the next game and barely pulling through. And even in this game in the third quarter, He had a ugly fall where he landed on his hand. He dislocated his pinky. He went to the locker room. They cleared him after x-rays, and they still brought him back. It is a crowded running back room, and versus the Rams and the team that you just went up against, you're not comfortable and letting everyone else get a piece of the pie and letting them run and kind of letting Josh rest a little bit? Well, clearly not, because they're not good enough to beat a team like the Rams, bro. Like, what are we doing, bro? At what point is this not a fireable offense? Am I saying fire Josh McDaniels tomorrow? I want to, but I'm not saying that, because this is a franchise that has fired and hired plenty of coaches. But at some point, when it comes to Derek Carr and some of these dudes, it's been 9 years. What's the phrase? If you got 3 quarterbacks or 2 quarterbacks, you don't really have one? Well, if you're waiting on a dude for 9 years, you don't really have one. Don't believe me? Go ask Miami. Go ask Tennessee what they think about Ryan Tannehill, because they've been doing the same damn thing about his career, bro. Like, with things to play for. And this is how you come out. This Rams team last week played in Seattle, lost 27-23 against a great Seattle team with a MVP candidate in Geno Smith. And you don't come prepared. You don't come like you care. Worst things worst is Baker Mayfield got sacked 4 times. The offensive line for the Rams was penalized like 6 or 7 times on holding calls. Near the end of the third quarter, there was a situation on a 4th down where one of the offensive linemen basically pushed a Raider in his face and got penalized for a misconduct play. Cost the Rams 15 yards, got them out of field goal position. It was a 61-yard field goal attempt that they tried. He missed it terribly because of all these mental mistakes. And what do the Raiders do? They're like, nah, we all good. We're going to give those mistakes back, because then the Raiders start getting penalized at the end of the game. And by the way, Baker Mayfield led that team to a 98-yard drive with less than 2 minutes left in the game, down 10-16, with no timeouts. You let a dude who still has his clothes in his suitcase at the hotel he's staying at, he don't even have an apartment to stay in, and you lost to that? I'm going to say it again. Josh McDaniels lost to an ESPN analyst and a Progressive insurance agent in the same season, and at this point, it is official. You better start looking at your draft prospects, because this season is cooked. And when it comes to Las Vegas professional sports, the Las Vegas Aces run this city, not the Raiders, because they are an unserious franchise. I'm Adrian Hernandez. Welcome to the Sporting Tribune Today, episode 3. Somehow, the Raiders are bringing out some energy in me that I didn't know I had, because I am so baffled at the performance on Thursday Night Football against the Rams. But let's switch gears and get into this great conversation with Blake Harris, who covers the Dodgers, MLB winter meetings, Aaron Judge, all these dudes getting paid millions upon millions upon millions. But what are the Dodgers' plans? Enjoy Blake Harris here on the Sporting Tribune Today. Hey, it is the Sporting Tribune Today, Odyssey Sports 1140 The Bet, the collab of collaborations. Joining us for the first time, Blake Harris, who covers the Dodgers for the Sporting Tribune, has his own Substack, has his Odyssey original podcast, Inside the Ravine. Blake, welcome. 3rd episode of the Sporting Tribune Today. How are you, my friend, as everyone in baseball is getting paid enormous amounts of money?
Everyone's getting paid enormous amounts of money in baseball, but us writers were not quite meeting that exact number. So, although I'd be loving to sign an 11-year, $300 million extension, hey, maybe a year or two from right now, I'll be getting that kind of deal. We'll be getting it soon.
One day, those Substack numbers going to keep going up and up and up. Let's get it. Now, before we get into everything going on in free agency and with the Dodgers, my goal here on the Sporting Tribune Today is my philosophy is everyone can talk about sports. You know what I'm saying? We all know where the stats are, this, that, and the third. But I really want our listeners and people who read us and stuff to connect to us and get to know us. So before we get into everything with the Dodgers, I have a set of questions for you. Are you prepared so that we get to know you better?
Oh, I'm prepared. I'm excited to see which direction we go in. So I'm excited to see what you got.
And I do apologize again. I have the flu, so I don't feel like I brought the best, but we're gonna make it do what it do. First question, since it is the holiday season, what's your role at a company holiday party? Are you just a part of the crowd? Are you the guy who gets way too drunk around his coworkers? Do you hang around the appetizers a little bit too much, like I do? Like, what's the game plan at the party?
That's a tough question. See, you can go a different way with this, but I like what you kind of mentioned. You got to see what the spread is. You got to see what's on the table the second you get there, because you could miss out, and all of a sudden 30 minutes to an hour down the road, the good stuff could be gone. So first things first, you're saying hello to everyone, but you're checking to see what that table's got. You got to see what's on the menu. So I think that's number one most important, and I think number two, you got to come to impress. You got to dress to impress. So if it's an ugly sweater, you got to find the best one you can. If not, find the best kind of holiday outfit you can. But yeah, you got to see what that spread is and see what's on the menu before everyone else gets their hands on it.
Me and you, we're gonna get along well. I can tell already. What's your favorite TV show of this year?
Man, I should have had like an hour to prepare for this, because that's a tough one on the spot. Favorite TV show, that's tough because my girlfriend and I have been doing so much binging. We've been watching so many things. I think the best I've watched this year was it's down to two, but I think I have an answer. Number one is probably Better Call Saul. I think that's been the best show I've seen this year. But we've recently been watching The White Lotus, and that's pretty good as well. So I have that as my number two.
Because I'm hearing people complain about whatever's going on with that show, like, but it's fire though.
It's tough because it's the second season and it's very different from the first season because they're like different storylines. So I could see it being a thing where, like, if you love the first season, you might not like the second season. See, like me personally, I think the second season's better than the first season, but I think it's just who you ask, I think, who kind of has different opinions, but I've really been enjoying it. But I think Better Call Saul, it might be a hot take, but I think it's better than Breaking Bad.
I will admit this right now. First and foremost, two things to admit. Number one, Jennifer Coolidge, if you're watching this, hello. How are you? I hope you're having a wonderful day.
Also, hello, Jennifer. Hello there. How are you doing?
Number two, I've never seen Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul. I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry.
See,
I've done drugs before. I've never, not those drugs, but I've never seen the show before.
Man, see, I thought you were going to say I've never seen Better Call Saul, which, okay, I could understand that. But if it actually, dude, I'm sorry. Like, we're going to have to end this interview right now, and you're going to have to go and watch some Breaking Bad because, dude, you need to get on that. But I would say make sure you watch. I know a lot of people say because Better Call Saul's a prequel, watch that beforehand. You got to watch Breaking Bad first and then Better Call Saul, because I think it's going to make it that much better. But yeah, dude, you got to get those two on your viewing schedule soon.
I'm one of those dudes that, like, if everyone's watching it, I feel like I don't need to because everyone else has me. But let's move forward real quick. This might be the most important one.
Okay.
Probably not, but it's just going to be one of the ones. Do you consider hot dogs a sandwich?
I don't know why. At some point, this question was actually proposed to me about a week ago. I don't remember what I said.
It won't leave you alone.
But I think I said yes. So I'm going to go with the yes, it is a sandwich. And if it is a sandwich, then if there's another question, what's your favorite sandwich? Well, there's mine, a hot dog.
Fantastic. If the rumors are true that are going around Twitter and social media today, are you in on a Rush Hour 4?
I'm in on a Rush Hour 4, but I hate to do this. I've only seen Rush Hour 3. And for some reason, it was back in theaters. I don't know, it was like 2008, 2009, whenever it came out. I saw it in theaters for some reason. So I've never seen the first two, but I know I love the third. I love Chris Tucker. I love Jackie Chan. So if the rumors are true, I'll be seeing Rush Hour 4, but I definitely need to see the first two and then the third again before I see the fourth.
Well, it's kind of crazy. I know that, was it Mindy or Cindy, the woman who was on The Office, whatever, she said like it couldn't be made today if they tried to. It's the same thing with Rush Hour 1 and 2. That movie could not be replicated today. So we'll see what happens with 4. Here we're gonna go with some random questions, but now we're gonna focus on baseball a little bit. And just to prep you coming up here, I'm gonna need a baseball hot take from you. But before we focus on your baseball hot take, I need you to judge mine. So I'm born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio. So obviously I'm a Guardians fan. And I think my biggest hot take is that the fact that Jim Thome is the only person from the 90s era of Cleveland baseball to have a statue is absolutely disgusting, considering he left to Philadelphia. You could have had Omar Vizquel, Sandy Alomar, Charles Nagy, Albert Bell, Kenny Lofton. There's a ton of people to pick from that era that could have had a statue, even the drummer in the outfield. And also, a lot of people don't remember this, but back in when Jim Thome was playing, like his minor league, like the top prospect at first base under him was Richie Sexton, who Big Sexy finished with 306 career home runs for terrible Milwaukee Brewers teams. So you're telling me he couldn't replicate similar offensive output as an Indian in those protected lineups in comparison to Jim Thome? That's one of my biggest hot takes. What do you feel about that? Is that asinine?
I was blown away that you said that Tommy's the only one, just because, I mean, I wasn't alive to really experience those kind of teams, but, from all the baseball, that I've come to learn, those teams were just insane. And the fact that, like you said, there's only one that's really getting the recognition. I know teams are very different when it comes to statues. Some teams, they'll just build a statue for anyone, where some teams like the Dodgers, it's literally, you got to be either Jackie Robinson or Sandy Koufax to do so. But yeah, I would think that there'd be more recognition for those teams because there were some studs. I also like that you brought up Richie Sexton, because that's a name that I have not heard in like a decade since he was like
Big
finishing
Sexy.
his career. I think he finished his career with like the Mariners, I want to say, or he may have ended up somewhere else.
Well, I Googled it right before I wrote because I wanted to double check. I guess he did like a 3-week stint with the Yankees where he hit one grand slam and he got cut. But yeah, no, he spent a lot of time with the Mariners and the Brewers too. But that was my hot take. Now it's time for yours.
See, that's tough, because coming up with hot takes, you can have so many different kinds of ones. I'm sure there's one I could come up with. It's like something that takes place over the last 20 to 30 years, but I'll just start with mine, since obviously we're going to be talking Dodgers. And this may be, well, I guess it is a hot take because it's going to be a controversial take. I don't care what happened in the past. I think the Dodgers need to sign Carlos Correa. Let what happened in 2017 happen. They need some guy that's going to unlight fire. They need some guy that has that dog in them. And that's Carlos Correa. So it's not a popular take, but a hot take is one that I say, and Carlos Correa needs to be a Dodger.
Screw the other questions. Let's go right into it. What is the latest that you're hearing on Carlos Correa? And obviously you just said you want him on the team, but what's the latest?
Yeah, so I want him on the team, and as of the last few days, there have been numerous reports where they've been linking the Dodgers, and it sounds like the Dodgers potentially want him on the team. But there was an article yesterday from Ken Rosenthal where he pretty much wrote saying, yep, the Dodgers are unwilling to sign Correa because they don't want to receive backlash from the fan base. And although I can understand that, because again, this is such a controversial player, at the end of the day, you're trying to win baseball games, you're trying to make money for your organization. And based on how the free agency is kind of panned out for the Dodgers, he's by far the best option. And I just don't think Gavin Lux is the right answer to be your shortstop moving forward. So I get it. There might be some backlash if you sign him, but if he puts up all-star caliber numbers and if the Dodgers win a World Series, I think a lot of fans are going to be on board with the Carlos Correa signing. So I'm not as confident as I was a couple days ago. I don't know if the Dodgers are just saying that to try to kind of slide under the radar, but if I were to guess, I think Correa is actually going to be a San Francisco Giant, and I think they're going to overpay for him after losing out to Aaron Judge the other day.
I do have to say, if like your reasoning is that he was on a rival team and we hate each other, like that is so strange when like look at what Deshaun Watson got paid for and what he is dealing with, let alone like you're saying just because he was on a rival team and they cheated. Like to me, that would be kind of ridiculous. And to just kind of take a step back with the Dodgers as a whole, obviously with the winter meetings being here. Everyone and a lot of things going on with free agency. Dodgers have lost 6 players from their playoff roster, including Trey Turner. And before we continue talking about the shortstop and everything and losing pieces to San Diego, where are you at basically with the front office right now and kind of the ideas that they have in place for this season? Or what it looks like.
Yeah, so it seems like their master plan is essentially to stay below that luxury tax threshold, which I think now is like $233 million. I was calculating it earlier, and it looks like the Dodgers are at about 185. So they have, I think, 48 million. My Arizona State math is coming into play here. So I think that's $48 million that they have to spare. So they have $48 million to pretty much disperse between however many players they need. So I get it. I understand it. They want to get below that number because they've kind of been over it the last couple of seasons, and there's a lot of penalties that come with that. So I can't fault them for that. But the fact that we're at this point in the offseason and the winter meetings just passed, and the Dodgers' biggest moves have been for Shelby Miller and Jason Hayward, two players who I thought were actually retired when I got the notification saying that the Dodgers just signed them. So
That's not good.
it's not been a great offseason, but as we've seen in years past, Freddie Freeman, he was signed middle of March. The Mookie Betts trade, I think, was like in February or something like that. So it doesn't necessarily have to happen early on. But if you're part of Dodgers Twitter, they're out there just it's ugly now. It's as if that they're the worst team in all of baseball with the way the offseason's gone.
Well, I mean, not only that, like obviously, like I don't know how you could feel good as a Dodger when you hear all that. Like I guess you re-sign Clayton and that's cool, but
Yeah.
who's in the San Diego in that rivalry? Like it's in a very weird and precarious situation that Dodgers fans aren't used to. I am curious how you think this is going to play out when it comes to the bullpen. Obviously, Craig Kimbrell, not a part of the organization, is a free agent. Do you think they're moving away from having like a designated closer going into next season?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was the plan last season initially, and then Craig Kimbrell just became available, so they decided to trade for him. But I think this season especially, we've seen the Dodgers, that's actually where they kind of thrive when they don't have that designated guy in the ninth inning. So assuming everyone's able to come back, healthy that they currently have, obviously Daniel Hudson tore his ACL last season. He's kind of a question mark to start the season. Blake Trinan might be out actually for majority of the season, so he's a question mark. But the Dodgers still have some really solid guys, and if that's the case, if they decide to move forward with no designated closer, kind of play matchup by matchup, I think that's going to be more beneficial actually for the Dodgers than having a guy that you can rely on in the ninth inning. Because as we saw last season with Craig Kimbrell, to put it kindly, it was a disaster. So maybe they just don't want to try that again. Try something new for 2023.
And, we talk about kind of the precarious situation the Dodgers fans are in, and even hearing that they're trying to slash payroll and stay under the luxury tax, like things we're not necessarily used to. I know Dave Roberts, I think the exact quote was, I don't think it's too much of a reach to say that 5 or 6 young kids, young ball players are going to have huge impacts on our ball club. From a fan standpoint, is that acceptable for a team that has such high expectations? Or should they have faith in that the organization in the minor league is building these talents that can play at a major league level and compete and, try to win a title?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I think it's risky because, you're asking a lot for unproven talent. But if anything, the Dodgers have proven over the last decade that they can develop talents better than almost any other team out there. I mean, you've had guys like Corey Seager, Cody Bellinger, Walker Buehler, guys like this come up through the system, Julio Urias, that were, farm guys that transformed into major league superstars. And I think they're kind of expecting that for a lot of these guys that they have coming up. Obviously, they still have some veterans like Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Max Muncy, Will Smith, guys like that. But their lineup's going to feature some rookies in 2023. And I think the beauty is the Dodgers lineup and team as it's constructed already is probably guaranteed to win at least 90 games. So, and that's with, assuming these rookies are kind of just average players. If these rookies live up to the expectations that are being set with them, I think this is a Dodgers team where all of a sudden now for the next 4 to 5 years, once again, they can kind of have that next dynasty like they just had with, again, those young guys that I just mentioned beforehand.
And speaking of the future, obviously winter meetings are going on. Earlier this week, Andrew Friedman, general manager, said, and I quote, "We've seen a lot of large market teams compete over a short period of time and then fall off a cliff." I think he does have some credence. I mean, hell, when you look at Alexander signing with the Padres, I look at Boston these past couple of years, and all the players they've lost and how much money they've invested in trying to win, and they have won, but it can get ugly at times, and there's another side to that. The one thing that I think isn't being spoken about is I do see that the Dodgers are saving money and getting ready because there's a guy who plays very close to LA and Anaheim with Ohtani. Do you think there's any truth or credence to them trying to go all in on him next season when he becomes available?
Talk about perfect timing, because I literally just finished an article on that about an hour or two ago. So
Synergy.
I think this is a rumor that has a lot of truth to it. We've seen numerous reporters over the last few days kind of link Ohtani to the Dodgers. And this isn't something that's entirely new. The Dodgers, they tried to get him when he was fresh out of high school. They tried to get him 5 years ago when he went to the Angels, which I still think he would have gone to the Dodgers if the National League would have had a designated hitter. But because they did, his options were kind of limited to the American League. But I think when he's a free agent next season, again, like you said, or like we're both saying, that's why the Dodgers want to get under this tax threshold, because it's going to allow them to offer more money to Ohtani next year, whether that's 400 million, 450 million. Personally, I think he's the first guy to surpass 500 million in baseball, because if Aaron Judge is making 40 million a season, if Jacob deGrom's making 35 million a season, well, Shohei Ohtani, who's putting up numbers almost similar to both those guys, he's doing the same thing. So what's he going to get? So yeah, I think the Dodgers, I think they're saving up, and I think they're going to write a check where essentially they're just going to keep adding zeros until Shohei says, okay, that should get me through the rest of my life.
Yeah, to say the least. And also, just for the record, if that is the plan, do whatever you want and make that happen, because you have to have him. He's one of those ones. Come on,
Yeah.
once in a generation for real. Moving away from the Dodgers and going to the rivals, obviously. Padres still spending outrageous amounts of money signing Xander, Juan Soto, Machado, Tatis. This lineup looks crazy, even if Tatis isn't going to be there anymore. What do you make of the Padres and in general, too, around the league, with Judge staying with the Yankees and stuff, some of the moves around the league?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a crazy last couple of days, but yeah, the Padres. And the thing is, I mean, props to them, because they struck out swinging on Aaron Judge. They struck out swinging on Trey Turner, but they hit a home run with Xander Bogaerts. I do think giving him an 11-year contract might be a little too much. I'm personally not a fan of those kind of contracts, but he's still one of the better shortstops in all of baseball. And this is a Padres team that obviously made it to the NLCS last season. Now you're adding Xander Bogaerts. You're going to be getting Tatis back. I think they're well equipped to make another run in the NL. And I think the Yankees getting Judge back, I was personally surprised. I thought he was pretty much a lock to go to the Giants, especially when there was that John Heyman report saying that he's headed to the Giants. And there was about 15 minutes where we all thought it was happening. So
Arson's still a free agent.
Oh, yeah, Arson Judge. Arson Judge is still out there, but I thought it was a big move by the Yankees. I mean, I think it was 9 years, $360 million. Yeah. So $40 million a year for a guy that's already 30 years old. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out, but he's one of those guys where no matter what the price is, you can't let him leave to another team. You just can't let him go, especially coming off the season he just had. And outside of that, I'm shocked with some of these moves, seeing like the Texas Rangers signing Jacob deGrom, going all in on him, because they're not necessarily a team I think is going to be competing for a World Series next year. And there's just been some very sneaky signings. One that personally I absolutely love. I think you're going to love this one, and that's Josh Bell signing with the Guardians. I thought that was a sneaky, really good signing that kind of just flew under the radar. It was like a 2-year deal for I think only like 30 million, something like that.
Yeah.
I thought that's a great signing for a Guardians team that literally was one of the better teams in the American League last season, who adds one of the better bats that was on the free agent market. So a lot of really good moves so far this offseason, but I thought you'd like that one as one of my personal under the radar favorites.
Do you think it's a good move that the Dodgers didn't overpay or sign Verlander? I saw you throw some shade in an article, so I just want to get it clarified.
Yeah. I mean, I will say this. Had the Dodgers signed Justin Verlander, I wouldn't have been upset, but I was a little hesitant to give a 40-year-old pitcher $40 million, even though he's coming off, a Cy Young season, even though he's still one of the top, pitchers in all of baseball. Giving a guy $40 million a season. I mean, we saw what happened last year with Max Scherzer. Sure, he was good when he pitched, but he missed a good chunk of the season. So again, I would have been on board with it because it's not my money. Hey, throw as much money as you want to whoever you want. But in regards to especially getting under this tax threshold, I mean, hell, just giving him the $40 million, that would have already put you right near the max. So at the end of the day, Ohtani in 2024 or Verlander in 2023, I think the choice is pretty obvious which way I go. So not too upset over losing that one.
Are you surprised that the Dodgers lost Trey Turner?
I wasn't, because for some reason, it just didn't seem like he was going to be coming back. The last year he's talked about wanting to play on the East Coast. And there was just this weird, feeling that a lot of Dodgers fans had. It just didn't seem like Trey Turner really wanted to be here. It just seemed like he was here to ride out the end of his contract and then eventually get to free agency, because even all the times when reporters would ask like, hey, you and the Dodgers long-term extension, he essentially kind of downplayed it and just said something along the lines of, yeah, I mean, if they want me back, yeah, it's something I'd consider, but it was always kind of, I prefer to go on the East Coast and something like that. I can't remember losing a player that I think was like a 5 or 6 win player, one of the better players in all of baseball, and kind of not just really feeling much. Like I was more upset that Tyler Anderson left than Trey Turner leaving. Like that
That's
just goes to
wild.
show how crazy it is. So yeah, obviously I would have loved to have him back. I'm sure the Dodgers were interested in bringing him back, but there's no way that they would have offered him 11 years for 300 million, anything like that. So at the end of the day, it sucks to lose a guy of his talent, but again, it's weird how a lot of Dodgers fans aren't really feeling a whole lot with him departing.
It is the Sporting Tribune Today. Blake Harris joining us talking about MLB free agency, the latest on the Dodgers and the future of the Dodgers. Before we get you out of here and make sure we get you to plug everything that you got going on, I guess my final question is going to be this. For the Dodgers, as free agency continues, what's more important to you in terms of the Dodgers being successful next season, for them to shore up the outfield or for them to shore up the starting pitching rotation?
And that's another tough question because they both could use so much work. Whereas with the outfield, I mean, as of right now, it's looking like James Outman, Trace Thompson, I guess Jason Hayward. So, there are worse options out there, but they're not ideal. And then with the starting rotation, yeah, they still need at least one more guy because I don't want to have to rely on some rookies, to fill out that fifth and final spot. But I'm going to go with a starting pitcher just because I think they'll figure it out in the outfield. I think they're going to find someone that's going to be just fine. But as we've seen, you need starting pitching. You need starting pitching depth to have success, in the major leagues. And the Dodgers, the 4 that they have currently, there are still some question marks with them. So the only guy I'm really confident in is Julio Urias. So if there's only 1 out of 5 that you're confident in, you have some work to do. So I'm going to go with starting pitching is my number one priority for the rest of the offseason.
And boom, we want to say thank you so much for joining us. And before you go, let everybody know what's out there that they can read from you, where they can follow you on social media and all the plugs.
Yeah, so social media wise, I'm only one place, and that's Twitter. I haven't posted an Instagram in like 4 or 5 years. I still use it, but I just don't believe in posting it. So you guys can find me on Twitter at Blake Harris, TBLA. You guys can find a lot of my work on Substack. I post some bonus articles there. I have like bonus features for subscribers where we have like meetups, giveaways, all that kind of fun stuff, and Zoom hangouts. But also you guys can read all my articles on the Sporting Tribune as well. So you can find me a whole lot of places. It's just whatever's easiest for you guys.
Bam, there it is, Blake Harris, our first time talking, and I know we're going to be talking here soon in the future. Thank you so much for your coverage and everything you do covering the Dodgers.
Now, one thing I should have said this, though, before, at the beginning of the show. What is your favorite TV show of 2022? I should have thrown it to you at the end, but I'm very interested because I'm always open for more TV suggestions. Yeah, I'm using the reverse card before we end.
One thing I do that people may or may not notice because I'm not that important. I always have some sort of Star Wars in the background. Today it's R2D2. Okay. So I say that to say that my number one TV show of the year is Andor on Disney Plus. And the good thing about that is that, like, whether you're a Star Wars head or not, there's not a Jedi in the show. It's like very realistic. It's like if you were just a regular person living in that world and how the Empire is kind of like a police state. Super, super fantastic. The whole cast, everything. It's like it might be my favorite piece of Star Wars ever. And like I'm saying, there's no science fiction or like the Force or Yoda. There's none of that. It's just like a real show with like emotions and stuff. It's fantastic. So that's my number one show of the year.
Okay, I'll try because a lot of people have been hyping it up. Personally, I'm not a huge Star Wars person, but I did love The Mandalorian, so I'll get that on the schedule and tell the girlfriend that's up next for our viewing pleasure.
Perfect, and then we can start our Sporting Tribune Today sub podcast as we review Andor. Let's do this.
Let's do it.
Thank you so much for joining us, man.
Hey, no worries, brother. This was a lot of fun.
Perfect. Boom, there it is. All right, Blake, thank you so much. I appreciate you. That was awesome. Good stuff. And I'll talk to you soon, man. Once again, much love to Blake Harris for joining us, getting us some coverage on the Dodgers and MLB free agency. I have still not calmed down after this Raiders performance. What a joke, man. Like, honestly, what an unserious franchise. Like, dead ass. What an unserious franchise. Can it be? How is it possible that the owner of the Raiders has to own the Raiders, but the other team he owns wins a championship in their sport in the Aces, man? Raiders, unserious franchise. So much so it's throwing me off my game. Not only am I not feeling well, can't pronounce words apparently, are flabbergasted by the Raiders. I forgot to give out our info, man. The Sporting Tribune Today, wherever your podcast is available to download, wherever you like to get it. We prefer Spotify, YouTube, but there's plenty of other places you can get it. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube at the Sporting Tribune Today. Sporting Tribune Today on Spotify as well. Be sure to follow the Sporting Tribune on social media. Instagram and Twitter is the Sporting Trib. You can follow me at Adrian Radio 93 on Twitter, at Heavyweight Radio on Instagram, because just like you heard with the Blake Harris interview, we have it available for your eyes in video format on YouTube, on social media. We're just trying to make sure we give you your content in whatever platform you need and want. Any feedback, any words? Are you as flabbergasted at me with the Raiders? Let us know. Stay safe out there. Don't be sick like me and my family. Wishing you and yours a wonderful week. We'll be back with episode 4 next Friday. Same place, same time. You know what it is. Sporting Tribune Today. Peace.